Good evening. I'd like to call to order this closed session of the Glendora City Council. All council members are present and accounted for. And with that, before we go to our public comment, I will ask our city attorney to read us into closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen who may be viewing this meeting virtually or in person. City Council has 3 agenda items on closed session. The first involves labor negotiations with the Glendora Police Managers Association. The authority to meet in closed session is Government Code Section 54957.6. And the City Council will meet in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding 2 pieces of real property. The first property is the so-called Thomas R. McGee Trust property. The assessor parcel number identifying that property with particularity is printed in the closed session agenda. And the second property is commonly known as the Paul Rodriguez property on Dale Road. Again, the assessor parcel number identifying the property with specificity is printed in the closed session agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Winder. With that, I will open the public comment and I will invite anyone who wishes to speak on these closed session items to do so at this time. Anyone joining us on Zoom that wishes to speak, I invite you at this time to use the raise hand icon. And also, have we received any emails related to the closed session items?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we received no requests via the Zoom participants to give public comment, no comment cards, and no emails related to the closed session items today.
Okay, thank you. With that, then I will close public comment and convene us into closed session at 6:02. Okay, we will reconvene back into open session at 7:21 PM. And Mr. Winder, if you will report on our closed session, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, those who may be participating in this meeting in person or virtually. Council had a very busy and robust discussion in closed session. There was a discussion with city staff and the city attorney's office pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 regarding ongoing labor negotiations with the Glendora Police Managers Association. Staff provided a privileged and confidential briefing on ongoing negotiations. Questions were asked and answered, and further negotiating authority was given. In addition, the City Council received a brief status report on ongoing negotiations to acquire the so-called Thomas R. McGuey Trust property, the detailed identification of which is printed in the assessor parcel number. That was a brief status report. No action was requested and no reportable action was taken. Lastly, the property was discussed, the so-called Paul Rodriguez property. Again, the assessor parcel number identifies that property with particularity. There was an extended discussion of the terms and conditions under which that property might be acquired. Questions were asked and answered. And further questions staff was directed to further explore and report back at a future meeting. The authority to meet in closed session to talk about these real property negotiations was Government Code Section 54956.8. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Winder. With that, I will call our regular meeting to order. And for those joining us on Zoom, all council members are present. At this time, for our invocation, I will invite Associate Pastor Lucas Parks of First Baptist Church to lead us in that, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Alawas.
Let's pray together. Dear wise and loving Father, we gather and thank you on behalf of those who are gathered here today. We thank you for your many and abundant blessings. We thank you for life itself, for the measure of health that we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance for our duties. We thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities, as well as the freedom to enact those responsibilities. In the scriptures, you've said that citizens ought to obey governing authorities since you've established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. And so we pray this evening for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particularly for this assembled council. We pray that you would graciously grant them the wisdom to govern amid interests of our time, the issues of our time. We pray that you would grant them a sense of welfare and true needs of our community, a keen thirst for justice and rightness. Father, that you would grant them confidence in what is good and fitting, and the ability to work together in harmony, even when there may be honest disagreement. And Father, we ask also that you would grant them personal peace in their own lives and joy in their tasks. We pray for the agenda set before them this evening. We pray that you would give them an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those of us who live and work in and around our beloved city of Glendora. We ask this in your most blessed name. Amen.
Everyone can please stand, face the flag, and put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Parks, and thank you, Councilmember Alawas. That takes us to reordering of or additions to the agenda. Are there any additions anyone wishes to make or any reordering? Okay, seeing none, then that takes us to public comment. This time I invite members of the public to fill out a speaker card if you wish to speak. Those joining us via Zoom, please use the raise hand icon and let us know if you wish to speak. At this time, I have one speaker card, Mr. Dennis Willett.
Good evening, council. Thank you for allowing me to come before you, and thank you to Mayor. I wish you would give all disabled people at least 5 minutes to speak. I don't feel it's fair. And also, I don't feel it's fair that the citizens of Glendora don't have their own lawyer in these meetings to know what's going on. And especially the citizens of Glendora seem to be locked out of everything that's going on with calipers, especially now the dishonesty and all the articles in the Wall Street Journal. I refer to the current White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klein. His second in command, Thomas Dolan, Donilon. He is also the chairman of BlackRock Investments. So BlackRock Investments has a special place at the White House. And then let me bring in the National Economic Council Director for the Biden administration, Brian Deese, Deese. Again, he is from BlackRock. So BlackRock has their thumbprint and it's all over. We're quite concerned about what is taking place, especially with Engine 1 and having the 3 board seats on Exxon, preventing all oil drilling. As you well know, Biden administration has gone to Venezuela. How we learned about it, Venezuela president called Raul Castro in Cuba. Cuba guy, Raul, calls the guy down in Mexico. By the way, Mexican president and Biden met today. And the Mexican president let it out how much oil that Biden was trying to buy. Don't forget, Mr. Biden stated the dirty oil is coming in from Venezuela. Now, we know Putin is drilling oil in the Arctic. And again, 2 weeks ago, Moderna, the president of France, Moderna, stated all nuclear power plants are now green. And within 2 weeks, Formula One will be in France, actually next weekend. And the weekend after that will be in Hungary. But anyway, what is all important, he wants to state that the oil coming in much cleaner, not the dirty oil coming in from Venezuela that Biden said was dirty. The new oil coming in from the Arctic that Putin is drilling. And again, India has taken a great deal of it and put a huge investment in as well. And again, I want to switch to last meeting we had last time regarding the district attorney's race. I don't want to replace, my time is up. I see that.
Yes. Thank you. Do we have anyone on Zoom wishing to speak at this time?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we've received no requests via Zoom participants to give public comment. We did receive one email previous to the meeting that was incorporated into the public record and sent to council. No other public comment emails have been received, and we've also scanned our junk mail in case anything got filtered. So nothing's been received.
Okay, thank you. With that, then I will close public comment and bring it back to the council for statements and report. Councilmember Friedendahl.
I have no reports tonight. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Alawas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last Thursday evening, we had a talk session that involves elected officials and appointed officials out in Claremont. And we had a robust discussion and wrapped around basically 2 issues that focused in on. One was homeless and one was water. And it got to a point where we scheduled another meeting for next month to discuss this even more so because of the water issues, because every municipality is in a little different situation. And the homeless situation isn't really abating and necessarily going away, it's just shifting. So we're really engaged, and it's really interesting in what some of the other cities are doing. Ontario is really getting robust with building out their issue and getting some funding. We talked to Adam about that a little bit about where that came from. But it's going to be a robust discussion, I would imagine, this next time around. So if anyone's in town around, I would like to invite you guys to one of these next talk meetings. I know all of you have gone to one of them one time or another, but it should be a very good and robust discussion next time. Second item, Adam, can we get an update on the Gladstone Park, the water tank removal? Looks like they're just about done or pretty close to that.
Yeah, well, I don't see Allison here right. Oh, it's Allison there. Sorry, Allison. Kathleen's head's right in the way. My apologies. Yeah, come on up and provide an update. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, sir, Madam Mayor. Actually, I am the project manager of the Gladstone Park. We are now at 50%, almost 48 to 50% completed. Tomorrow, we're just gonna do final soil report. And after that, in 2 weeks, we will be doing the concreting and paving of the parking area. So we are now what we call it, estimating that the project will be completed most likely by September 2. And parking, I'm hoping will be open first week of September. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, and it's great to be back. A couple weeks ago, I was in the COVID jail, and it's just great to be here. Baseball is here among us. If you're a Dodger fan, you're loving life. If you're an Angel fan, you aren't liking life. But
You can always switch.
you can always switch. But what I'm here to talk about is local baseball. And John Aguirre, I want to invite you up. There are some tremendous teams that we have that have won big Little League and softball teams. And I've asked John to update us on the teams. I know some that have won, but I don't want to step in something that I shouldn't by not mentioning some others that have won. And I know that you're the czar of knowing every team that is advancing. So John, would you let us know some of that?
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I'll give you a little update on our Little Leagues and girls softball programs. They've all been busy competing in all-star tournaments this summer. Glendora American Little League is competing in the District 20 tournament in the past 2 weeks and won the following District 20 championships. The 8 and under, and I don't think they move on. I think they stop.
They stopped.
The 10 and under is moving on to Section 3 in Temple City. And then the 12 and under, that's the team from last year, the 11 and under that had that big run. I think they ended up 3rd in state.
Yes, they did.
And that it's mainly the same team. They're moving on to play the Section 3 tournament in Ontario. So their baseball season continues. They're in double elimination tournaments and you keep winning. And the 12 and unders, that's the team that could, if you keep winning, you go all the way back to Williamsport in Pennsylvania in August in that. And our girls softball program also competed in the ASA Northern District Championships. They were held at Pompey Park. And the following teams won berth to the ASA state tournament in Lancaster. The 8 and under went up there. The 12 and under won the district here tournament, the B tournament, and had a bid to state. And then our 10 and unders won also the championship. They went to the state tournament and got a berth in the nationals, ASA Western Nationals in Salem, Oregon. So they'll be going up there probably the 1st or 2nd week in August. So I think they're trying to fundraise. My team did that 10 years ago, and we fundraised $17,000 in 17 days. Because you're there a whole week, it becomes very, very expensive. So all our youth sports are doing very well. Football is started practicing, their junior All-American, and then soccer, I believe they're at 1,200 kids getting ready to play later in August. And that's the report.
Thank you, John. And I just want to say thank you to all of the kids that John talked about. It is a lot of work. And I want to say thank you to them, their parents who take them and eat the hot dogs at the ballpark and suffer through all of that. And I want to thank all of the coaches. It is a lot of work, but it's just a lot of fun too. And you learn a lot about life. You really do. And I coached, I know Gary's coached, and it's a lot of work, but we have a lot of kids here that are doing well. And I just thought that everybody should know that. The goal line is continuing to do everything that it should, build out. I know Foothill and Grand adjustments have been made there. I hope everybody is finding their kind of way. David, I know it's still a maze, but we're working on that.
Well, closure soon will solve all of that. So
That's
it's all
right.
good.
That's right. And on Monday, the 18th, there's going to be a one-night shutdown so that the bridge across 66, a lot of big work is going to be going on there, and it wouldn't be safe for us to go there. So be aware of that. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you.
No video for us tonight?
I
I'm
no.
disappointed.
No, I know you are. I wanted to talk about kids. And so that's the, there's
Mayor Pro Tem.
nothing.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I wanted to quickly give a brief update. We see a lot of stuff in the media about public transportation and issues with there being a safety issue on public transportation. And I sit on the board for the Foothill Transit, which is the bus system that goes through the San Gabriel Valley. And we got an update on safety issues there. And I wanted to share some of the information. In the last 6 months, Foothill has hosted 533,000 bus trips. And we've transported about 4 million passengers. In that time, we had a total of 15 assaults. Okay, now 15 assaults are not acceptable, but in the whole scheme of things, that equates to about a 0.0000028% of a chance of actually having an interaction on a bus in the San Gabriel Valley. I think it's important to point out, especially because it works out to about 3 assaults per 100,000 passengers. And to put that in perspective, in the San Gabriel Valley in general, our general population experiences about 100 assaults per 100,000 residents in that same time period. So, public transportation is very safe. These people do a great job with the Gold Line coming through town. I think the perception of things not being safe is something that we need to get past, because it's an asset that needs to be used more. And we're hoping to do everything possible to try to get people back in those seats. So it was just an update I wanted to share. Last weekend, the Glendora Rotary Club hosted our 4th annual Field of Heroes, which is our flag display here at City Hall and down at Sunflower. Great display, great event as always. We had a lot of participation of people coming to visit the flags, taking pictures. Almost every time I was at either one of the sites, there were people there taking pictures and walking through. So, but what was amazing was the number of people in the community that came out to volunteer to help put the flags up, to help guard the flags, that participated in our ceremonies. Rotary had the opportunity to make contributions to 4 different organizations in town, which was the Veterans Center over at Azusa Pacific University, as well as the Veterans Center at Citrus College. And then the LA County Fire Department for one of their youth programs, and our own Glendora PD to help support their Explorer program. So it's a great event. We raised some good money. It goes to good causes, and we appreciate everything. But I got to especially point out, we had a bunch of kids or young adults come to help out from the LDS Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it was pretty amazing to me. And I don't have all of the information, but some of the kids were from Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Texas, Minnesota, that were here in the area doing missionary work. And they stepped up to come out and help us put flags in the ground, which if they wouldn't have been there, I may not be here tonight. I might be in an intensive care somewhere. But it's just great to see young people get involved in these things and come out and help. On top of that, the scouts were a big part of the project, and a special shout out to David for helping to get, it was troops 489 and 490 that were there that helped to camp at the sites overnight to keep an eye on the flags for us. They helped, they were part of our ceremony as we went through. And so just a great event, and I appreciate everybody stepping up to it. On another note, our movies in the park and concerts at the park are in full swing right now. Last week at the movies in the park, the Glendora Rotary Club again partnered with the Glendora Library, and the library hosted an event that they had the In-N-Out truck there, and they had one of the DeLoreans that was used in the movie Back to the Future. And Back to the Future was the movie that was shown that night. It's the biggest crowd we've had at movies in the park since I've been involved in it. And I've been doing it for about 15, 16 years now. But it was just one of those things to see those people come out and enjoy the movies, enjoy the interaction. The library got a lot of great PR, and the library staff, the library board, and the Friends Foundation, everybody working together, it just turned out to be a great event. This coming week, the movie Encanto is going to be playing, which is a more recent movie that's come out. For those of you that don't know, we don't talk about Bruno. Does that get a smile from anyone in the crowd? But if not, go watch the movie next Friday night. And then the concerts this Friday, we got the Doo-Wah Riders coming. And last week we had the Night Owl, which was a youth group that was there playing, and it was a great event. But what I always love about those is it almost takes you back to a Norman Rockwell scene where you have little kids running through the crowds, you know, with their toys and their things like that as people are sitting around enjoying the music. So that's what Glendora is all about. And I'm glad it started. It comes and goes very quickly every summer. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
I would sing that song, We Don't Talk About Bruno, but I would empty the room if I started. So yes, and on the subject of the library, they've been doing a lot of great things all summer long. They've been doing the Discovery Challenge, and so kudos to all of those activities. Mr. City Manager or City Attorney, anything, I waited till you put that in your mouth before I called on you. Anything that you would like to report at this time? Okay, thank you. Then that takes us to special items. Our water conservation program tonight, Senior Management Analyst Russell Ackerman. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen here and online. Thank you for the opportunity to present this important program update to you today. I'm Russell Ackerman, the city's new Senior Water Management Analyst for the Water Conservation Team and the Public Works Water Division. I'm here with Armando De Jesus, our longtime Water Conservation Officer. We are here to co-present and give an update on the city's water conservation plan, highlighting our ongoing outreach efforts and our current and future water conservation programs. Next slide. We are currently in a stage 3 drought condition. We have mailed a flyer to every property owner and business detailing the city's stage 3 water restrictions. We've also included a frequently asked question sheet to answer some of the more common questions about the new restrictions. Next slide, please. We're trying to achieve a 20% reduction in the use of the city of Glendora water. If the average Glendora resident uses 150 gallons of water per day, to meet the 20% reduction goal, we're asking each resident to reduce water usage by 30 gallons per day. We created a helpful tip sheet seen here to give residents an idea of what they can do to reduce water each day. This has been included in our water conservation guidebook, which is also available on our website and also includes tree watering guidelines and a children's coloring book. Next slide. Also on our website is an informational flyer about the State Water Resources Control Board's emergency regulations regarding non-functional turf. Effective June 16th, 2022, commercial industrial and institutional properties are prohibited from using potable water for irrigating non-functional turf. This is a one-year ban unless modified, removed, or extended by the board. Non-functional turf is defined as a ground cover surface of mowed grass that is ornamental and not otherwise used for human recreational purposes. The ban does not include watering turf grass used for human recreation, i.e. a sports field or other community activities. The ban does not include watering residential grass, and it does not include watering trees and turf grass. Again, this does not apply to residential properties unless it is a common area of an HOA. Our water conservation staff have identified potential properties that may be affected by this ban, and we mailed this informational flyer to them last week. Next slide. We've been working with our PIO, Greg Morton, on social media, messaging, and the website. And we'd like to thank you, Madam Mayor, for participating in our social media outreach efforts. Next slide. Messaging is ongoing at City Hall, both outside and inside. In an effort to conserve water, our city parks have reduced overall watering while maintaining the health of the trees in our parks. We've developed signage that explains our efforts to save water and trees at the same time. However, I want to make clear that watering is in progress for our athletic fields to ensure the safety of park users. Next slide. Another outreach effort that has generated questions and calls is the use of message boards strategically placed throughout the streets in the city. In particular, the water levels message seemed to have piqued a real interest. Today, we received an update that our water level at the Key Well is down to 184.6 feet, down from May, where it was at 186 feet. So we will be out changing the signboards to reflect the new low. Next. There's a graphic on our newly designed city website, cityofglendora.org/water conservation, that puts these water levels into context if you're interested. In addition, on our website, one can find all kinds of information about our rebates, answers to FAQs about water restrictions, a look at our community scorecard, information on signing up for our smart water meter program, links to regional rebate programs, and how to sign up for a free water use efficiency audit. Slide. We are also participating in the summer discovery program at the library. Here we're offering shower timers, automatic shut-off nozzles, kids pamphlets and coloring books, and tip sheets for saving water. We've recently updated our city device rebate program for City of Glendora water customers. We've increased the rebate for some of our more popular items like clothes washers and dishwashers, as well as added a safety standard requirement for pool covers. And now I'm going to turn it over to Armando de Jesus.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. So one of the major questions that we are being asked constantly is we have been sending a lot of information to our residents, and they want to know, have our numbers actually dropped? So staff members have created an assessment to see what we're doing from this year compared to last year, just to see if all of our efforts are actually working right now. So as you can see, right now, we are seeing some reductions right now. We are at 4.70% reduction. That SPI is actually receiving less rain this year. We're seeing those reductions right now. So little by little, we're getting there. Next slide, please. This is the real numbers that we're looking at. So the state has set a challenge for us to conserve water compared to our water uses in 2020. So as you can see, we have increased, so it's 30.13%, but compared to 3 months ago, we actually did an assessment a quarter ago, and that number used to be higher. It used to be 11.5. So even though it's still not in the negatives, we are seeing a slow progression that the numbers are going down. And this is barely the second month that we've changed our mandates. So we are seeing that progression, and a lot of that a lot of the efforts that we're doing with social media. We are seeing residents reach out to us, constantly asking questions. Every day we're bombarded with questions, and we're more than welcome to help everyone, and even going to our residents' homes to do audits, which is really where we're getting residents to conserve. Next slide, please. So part of our upcoming events, our next up is National Night Out Open House on August 6th. We will be passing out a lot of literature information, how to conserve water, how to apply through our turf removal rebate currently, which we don't have right now, but we are pushing metropolitan water districts rebate as well. We are going to be purchasing a lot of giveaways that are going to help conserve as well. We are also purchasing the garden hose timers that you requested. So you will be seeing those out, and we're going to be handing out to our residents as well. Next slide, please. And our next upcoming event is this is probably one of my favorite events in Flashback. We really get a lot of participation from our residents. We make it fun for the kids as well when we do raffles, or since we do a roulette, and the kids are constantly coming, including the adults, and just giving out a lot of conservation related giveaways. All right. That's it for my part.
Thank you, Armando. In conclusion, I'd like to point out a few highlights of our upcoming conservation plan. We have an interagency conservation collaborations. We're working with Glendora Unified School District on a potential toilet and urinal direct install program with an outside vendor. Currently, as Armando mentioned, residents interested in removing their lawns can participate in the MWD SoCal Water Smart Residential Turf Removal Program and receive $2 a square foot up to 5,000 square feet of converted yard per year. Commercial properties can also participate at $2 a square foot up to 50,000 square feet of conversion per meter per year. And there's also a program for public agencies at $3 per square foot with a maximum of 200,000 square feet per water meter per year. Of course, these programs are subject to their terms and conditions and eligibility requirements. SoCal Gas currently has programs for multifamily and mobile homes in their service area. However, we're seeking a partnership with them to create direct install programs for indoor water saving devices that will cover all sectors of our community. We should have an update for council by August. In the meantime, those participating in our city devices rebate program for clothes washers, dishwashers, etc., can find many qualifying products on the SoCal Gas Marketplace website, where you can purchase from local vendors and arrange installations, etc. And we'll provide a link on our website if approved. In terms of city water conservation efforts, city staff has met to develop a strategy for retrofitting city facilities where feasible with water saving indoor fixtures. We're meeting again next week to begin implementation of the program. Louis Pompey Memorial Sports Complex will be removing over 250,000 square feet of turf grass and replacing it with artificial turf for significant water savings. We're currently working with park staff to identify potential drought tolerant demonstration gardens on public property. We will create the design in-house to save money and time and get bids in late summer for a fall installation. As mentioned, we've updated our city device rebate program. This week, we are starting a pilot project. It's a direct install toilet replacement program with St. Lucy's Priory High School. We're using a local vendor, Ecotech Services, that has experience with school retrofits and working with other public agencies. We will evaluate the program and the vendor and may return in August with a request for a long-term contract for their services. This proposed contract would then offer the city the opportunity to develop customizable indoor and outdoor direct install programs for all sectors of our community. Finally, on August 1st, we'll be launching our own city-run turf removal program entitled the Turf Retirement Program. This program will be tailored to Glendora, and it will have both, it will have different eligibility requirements than the MWD program. We're hoping to make it a little easier to participate in our program. But like MWD program, it will have both a residential and a commercial aspect. And it's really designed to help the community retire lawns that have just stopped working. Ultimately, our goal is to offer all City of Glendora customers programs and rebates, whether indoor or outdoor, that will help them save water. And it's our job to help find the programs and rebates that will work best for them. Thank you very much. That concludes our presentation. Armando and I are here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Armando, who helped me get set up with the utility portal, because that is a big help to show you in real time your water usage. And so I would really encourage our residents to take advantage of that and call all of you to assist if they can't quite figure it out. Any questions from council? Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you for this update. Could you just unpack a little bit more on Pompey Park? You said the amount of turf that was going to be taken out, but I've gotten, and I think we all have, gotten a lot of calls on, you know, how much that's going to save us, what the cost is, and what is the new turf going to be like? There's a concern that turf can get very hot. And so I don't know if you know a lot about that, or maybe if John or Gary can address that, but could you just kind of unwrap a little bit more about what's happening there?
I cannot really answer that properly, but
Or Adam
if-
maybe, or
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And I know John, it's has little, he and Andy have walked the site, and we have a plan on what it looks like, including additional shade when the time comes. John, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about that.
The turf does get hotter. We're looking to remove all the turf and the infield and make it all that. With our sports leagues, mainly during the week, we play after 5 when it's a cooler down there. And then on Saturdays, we play early mornings, and usually they're done by 2. You know, our field 3 does have cannons. We very, very, very rarely turn those on, water cannons. So that's part of the, you know, and our summer months mainly are our time off. You know, we start soccer in August, late August, and that football starts a little earlier, and then softball goes February through June.
Okay.
But that's, you know, so we're looking to do fields 1, 2, 4, and 5. And
that's going to start when? Did Russell say that
we're putting the RFP out, or putting it all together at this point,
okay,
and then we'll go out to bid for a vendor.
okay.
And our goal, this contractor will be a vendor that will do both all the engineering and the installation themselves
Okay.
in one contract, not 2. And we'll look to get started hopefully by the end of the calendar year to make sure it's wrapped up as soon as possible to not impact sport league. So trying to fit it all in a very close window there.
So are, you know, any other parks going to be done like this, or are any of the school, like the high school field that I know is used a lot for football and soccer and
Right.
stuff?
We have not talked to the school district in any sort of in-depth about any of their facilities moving
Okay.
towards an artificial turf standpoint. I know we've talked previously about turf utilized in other areas, including Finkbeiner. And so as resources allow, when we look at those projects, then we'll work with John and his staff to determine what we can do and in a safe manner. So just wanted to add that we've also looked at corresponding shade structures for both Louis
Yes.
Pompey Park and Gladstone Park in general to help try to offset some of that heat and offer shelter from
Also,
the sun.
last week, we had a meeting with Public Works for the storm drain, that the project over at Finkbeiner Park.
Yeah.
And one of their things coming back is we would look at that facility to also have turf and all new lighting and that. So That would be a plus at the end. It will be a hardship, being down 18 months. Moving people like even our special events that we have there, we'll have to move and stuff, but on the end product, it will be very nice.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Alawaz?
Thank you, Mayor. The question, I don't know who wants to answer this. For the rebates, who pays for that? Is it Metro? Is it the city? Is it a combination?
So at a high level for any city-run facilities, the city's water fund would pay for the water rebate. So it's a return to users who are paying us to help them reduce their overall water usage. That's where that money comes from.
Okay, so, but Metropolitan Water,
Has their own rebate program, yes. They make money selling water, and so that's their program.
right, so do we have a bifurcation of what which programs are Metropolitan and which ones are our
Yeah,
cities?
if you wouldn't mind going back to the frequently asked questions.
And how much do you think our spend will be for the rebate?
Set aside over $1 million for our rebate programs.
So
And
that's,
that's customer facing. We set aside more than $5 million in total water wise projects and rebate programs.
and do we have an idea of the St. Lucy's project, how much that will save? To see how you can amplify that with other projects?
Right. When we met with St. Lucy's staff, our understanding is they haven't retrofitted since it was built. So we're anticipating significant savings just on the toilet retrofit alone. And we feel this is a good pilot project to also evaluate the vendor involved. It's a local vendor that we might want to use for other projects within the city.
And correct me, have you talked to our school district as well?
Yes, that would be, we are evaluating this vendor as potentially using them for the direct install for the Glendora Unified School District.
I know each campus has its own age, how old they are, but on average, how long has it been since they've upgraded their?
Well, we have an inventory from the superintendent, but it's not clear what the flow rates are for each of, so there could be varying opportunities for saving there. But one of the benefits of hiring this particular vendor is they go in and do a site assessment prior to giving us a bid. So they would actually go in and look at all the flow rates and figure out all the details of what it's actually going to take and cost to retrofit and where we'll get our highest water savings. And that would be school by school.
Do you believe you'll be able to hit 20% at least in savings?
I certainly hope so, yes.
Okay, last question for you. I heard that Metropolitan Water in September may outlaw all outdoor watering. Have you heard anything of that nature?
I have. There has also been talk that conservation is working statewide, and they may not need to do that. But that all depends on what's going to happen in the coming weeks. But by September, we should know whether or not that ban is actually going to be instituted statewide. And also, what are the parameters of that ban? Is it just outdoor sprinkler watering? Will you still be able to hand water? These are things that we don't know yet, but it is a possibility.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I would just add to that, the state's threat for like 4 months now is if you don't, I will. So the local water agencies and local cities are under a lot of pressure to meet those standards before we get a statewide ban and everyone's treated the same. So we'd prefer to work with our constituencies and our businesses to make sure we meet that reduction and not have unified rules where it's 1 day a week watering and you have to issue citations. So really appreciative to staff. As you've seen, they've done a pretty incredible job. When I told them it'd be great if we had a direct install program, I think they all looked at us like we were crazy, but they found a vendor, they did a great job. And so appreciate the presentation they had this evening. I think we're on the right track to really make a difference for both our residents and our community members and business owners.
So do you believe that the Metropolitan, if they did do this, it'd be a blanket, or they do it city by city if we met our goals?
It's a great question.
You don't have an answer for it?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Friedel? Sorry.
One quick question. Russell and Armando, thank you. For a resident perspective, can a resident apply for the turf retirement rebate program from both Metro and the city? Got my greedy hat on here, so I'm just.
I could answer that question. It is, Metropolitan actually does not like when residents are double dipping because they are receiving a substantial amount of money already from them. And then for them to come over to us and apply at the same time. So there is a system that we can actually check if a resident has applied directly to them, but essentially they could if they wanted to, but that's not something that we're going to be promoting this time around. So it's more either you go over to.
The answer is no.
Timing and management, folks. Yes, thank you.
A couple of questions. First off, I am looking into a more sophisticated sprinkler controller for my home. And I got to tell you, it's extremely complicated. Some of these systems, they have water apps or weather apps in them that they, control based on when it's cooler, they water less and that type of thing. I know we have a rebate for the program, but I wonder if we have looked into any type of an educational program to help people navigate that. Because I got to be honest, I've been looking at them for like 6 or 8 weeks and I can't make my mind up on what to get. So is there some education that people could get to be able to make choices of something like that?
We are actually planning on looking into talking to different vendors to try to see if we could do workshops and teach people how to use them. Some of them are not the most easy, friendly user controllers, as you said. So we are going to start working with at least 3 different vendors or 4 different vendors, try to see if we could do individual workshops and let residents decide which one they want. We can't steer them a specific direction. It would be up to them, but yes, that's something that we're looking into as well.
Okay, appreciate that. And then another question about the school district. I know the district has been talking about, they've got a situation they're going to be dealing with coming up soon, in which they're going to have to build a number of bathrooms in the classrooms to accommodate pre-K students that the schools are going to start servicing. And I don't know if there's anything in any of these programs that we could do to help them with the cost, or to help make sure that when they make those renovations, they're done in a way to, maximize the savings of water. But they will be putting in a number of new bathrooms within the next year or so. So in your conversations with them, that might just be worth looking into if it hasn't already.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thanks. And by the way, Russell, welcome aboard. Okay, I'm not sure how long you've been here. We haven't had a chance to meet yet, but appreciate you joining us. Okay, thanks.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. All right, that takes us to public hearings. Tonight, we have none. Next is our consent calendar. Items 6 through 11 can be approved with one motion. I understand that there is a correction that was asked to be made to the minutes.
Yes, that's correct. There is a correction that was asked to be made on the minutes for the June 28th meeting for item 19, the reordering. The order of the motion and second was reversed. So that is
Oh,
going
we
to be
can't have
corrected to
that.
show Councilmember Alawas motioned and Mayor Pro Tem Boyer seconded. And that will be noted as well and fixed in those minutes.
I
Okay.
move items 6 through 11 on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Thank you. That is a motion by Councilmember Alawas, a second by Councilmember Friedendahl. I'm going to open up the vote and do a roll call. Councilmember Alawas,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedendahl,
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyer,
Yes.
and Mayor Davis.
Yes.
That carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to member agenda items. Item 12, a report to the City Council on public art. And tonight to tackle that subject, Community Development Director Jeff Kugel. Welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. If you can go to the next slide, please. Next slide. So on May 25th, council members Thompson and Alowis requested a report on public art in the city. And so took that direction and did a little research on what the city's current policies say about public art, and as well as looked around at public art in the community, took some pictures. And so tonight what I'm going to do, I'm going to explain the results of that research project. So the next slide, please. Public art is something that's seen in many communities around the world, cities big and small. It is a way of expressing a community's inspiration, artistic values, with various examples. There are many organizations nationally that support and promote art in public places, and there are local organizations that promote art in public places as well, and also undertake things to promote and put art and teach about art in the community. There's even a public art in public places, as I found, which is a website with a catalog of public art in public places within the Southern California region. So I found that as part of my research on the subject as well. So next slide, please. So some pictures of some famous examples of public art. These would be recognized by most people. The sort of the Cloud Gate, I think that's called, in Chicago, this big silver object up on the left, and then the love word is in Philadelphia. And I think that's been replicated at different places around the country as well. But I think the original one is in Philadelphia. Next slide. In Glendora, as public art appears, things like that are in public places and plazas, like what I showed you with Chicago, Philadelphia, and many other cities. Usually in Glendora, it'll reflect where it's found, the city's heritage, such as with the citrus industry, or images of the city's natural hillside, or expressing the city's Pride of the Foothills motto, where you see public art around the community. There are, with respect to the city's land use policies and the zoning code, there are policies supporting public art and encouraging it. And also in the case of the Route 66 specific plan, there are examples of what type of public art at various intersections. I'll give an example of that in a couple of next slides, should be placed. In the village area, there are actually standards for murals, and a few murals have popped up in the village over the years, and I'll go over what those are as well. So next slide. Next slide. Okay, so here is an example. I want to give examples of some public art pieces that have been incorporated as part of development projects. These were pretty much all required as part of the development in the Route 66 specific plan and some other areas. So this example here is on the corner of Grand Avenue and Route 66. The Route 66 specific plan identifies several gateway intersections and actually includes illustrations for these types of monument signage and murals reflecting the Route 66 history as well as the community's heritage. And there's one of these on the northwest corner, and then there's another one on the southwest corner, and both of those were placed there as a condition of the development of those projects. Next slide. This is an image of tiles at the Glendora Station project, which is near the corner of Glendora Avenue and Ada Avenue. This is a residential project. And these images that were created reflect the history of the site, which actually was, before it was a housing development, the original purpose of the site was actually a station. That's when it stopped in Glendora. This is where the train stopped. There are images of the different stations that were there over the years, and also reflecting again the city's the citrus industry that was prevalent in the city from the early 20th century into the mid 20th century. Next slide. Back in, as we await the gold line to arrive in the city council, I think it was back in 2016, appointed an arts council, or really it was part of the gold line project. Every city along the line was asked to appoint a group to make decisions on what type of art would appear at the different stations, and along working in conjunction with Michael Hillman, who's a local artist. The Station Art Committee came up with a variety of public art images that will be used and incorporated into our station when it opens in 2025. Next slide. This is again a use of orange crate labels, or those types of images are commonly used to reflect, again, the city's citrus industry. This one is, and there are many of these placed at the Diamond Ridge Shopping Center, where you have the AMC Theater and Chili's and a bunch of other stores. There are images of orange crate labels that were required as part of that development, placed all over the project. Next slide. This is another, this actually is a tile mosaic at the Grand Promenade project, or shopping center, which is near Grand and Gladstone. This image of the Glendora foothills, or reflecting the natural setting of the community, was a requirement of the renovation of that center, which occurred around 2008. Next slide. So I'm going to go through the examples I have been showing you up to this point in the community are all reflected as part of development projects. In other words, the city, as a condition of approval, required that those art pieces be incorporated into the development, and they're encouraged by policies that are contained primarily in the Route 66 and Arrow Highway specific plans. The next pieces I'll go through are pieces of public art that have just popped up in the community and done in a variety of people using their own creativity and own inspiration to create public art. The first one, the Field of Valor. I think some people would say, well, it's an image of patriotism, but it's also an inspiration and reflecting creativity to place the flags in that kind of way at various places around the community. I think it started down at Sierra Vista Middle School down in Covina, and then we've done it recently up at our own City Hall. The next slide. On the other side, you have sort of a more whimsical mural on, I think people are familiar with this, on Route 66. This is, I think, a flying rhinoceros. So it's a fun mural at the Union Co-work building. Next slide, please. In the Glendora Village, this is the one location in the city where there are guidelines and standards for approving a mural, as well as some general guidelines for how big they can be, where they may be located, and also some of the subject matter that can be that they can have. And again, it follows the theme of the sort of the Pride of the Foothills theme, the citrus industry, the community's heritage and physical setting. Murals in the village are required to be approved by the Planning Commission. They have to be on the sides of buildings. They can be no larger than 80% of the wall and not to the edges. And if you follow those guidelines, the Planning Commission can approve it. So next slide. So this is a mural on a building in the village. You have a butterfly there, and then you have an image of probably the early 20th century Glendora Avenue, what it might have looked like. I think everybody's familiar with that one. Next slide. And then we have one of the more recent additions to the village is the large Glendora image, and also recalling the citrus industry and, of course, the community Glendora. And the next slide. I put this in the category of public art. These are, I think, ironwork flamingos that have been placed in one of the tree wells in the city. I think everybody is familiar with those well. They're not murals, but they're public art nevertheless. Next slide. So the request was for information on public art in the community and the city's general guidelines and practices. Hopefully I've given just a general overview of what that is. Topics for the council's discussion on this issue. Some communities have a more rigorous program and make public art requirement of every new project large and small. Some communities have created a public art master plan and even formed a public art committee to make decisions on art in public places. And actually, it's for the community and the city to support public art through supporting exhibitions and cultural pursuits more actively. Claremont, for example, has a very active public arts committee that does this type of thing. Or thirdly, possibly explore a public arts forum if the council's interested in supporting more public art and programs in the community through the various things that we do. And I would say that I think that, that the library, other community organizations currently do a lot of promotion of public art in the community. And so next slide. Just recommendation is to receive and file the report, or if the council has direction to staff to do further work on this topic, then provide that direction. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thompson, you and Mr. Alawas had asked for this, so I'll let you start off.
Madam Mayor, thank you. And Jeff, thank you. You've really expanded the, bio that you now have to include art, and you've done an excellent job. And I want everybody to, know that I love art. In fact, there's a little fact about me. In '77, I actually sold art for a year. And it was the kind of art that probably most of your parents and maybe some of you bought for your home. They were original oil. And you would go to a hotel such as a Marriott or an Elks Lodge, and you'd see hundreds of oil paintings framed. And I would buy those, stretch those, frame those, and sell those. And so I love art. And so this is not a some sort of a subtle attack on art. I think art is a great thing, and I enjoy it. But as I was thinking about some of the art that I've seen, which I just love, Adam and I began to talk, and I said, so what is the policy that we have? And I think the staff's done a great job of kind of reflecting on that. And on top of page 3, there's a policy, but it seems as though we need to button it up. And that's all I'm here to try to do, is to button it up. I love everything that Jeff that you showed. I would not change anything. But even within the policy and within page 3, there's some of the art that has exceeded what our policy says. I'm not sure that it was approved. The process was not employed. And all I would like is prior to more of it expanding, which I would love to actually see, that we have a, kind of a way to button it up and to give guidance so that when people want to build, paint, draw, whatever form of art that they want to express, that there's guidance. And so that's why I would like for us to talk about this. Personally, I like, the option 2 that staff has outlined, and that's why it's here. So with that, I hope that we can move on option 2, and I'm not in any hurry to get this done. I know staff has got a lot going on, but those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Mr. Alawas.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jeff, for your report. It was well done. I read through everything on there, and I have just a few questions on one for our city attorney. Does free speech play into any of this with murals? Care to opine?
Yes. Well, I mean, what if somebody wanted to put a swastika up on the wall of one of the buildings in downtown Glendora? That's a free speech implication. It can be regulated in an art context, but there are First Amendment issues associated with art in public places.
Okay, thank you for that. I do like everything that we have going up already in the city, and I like to see about buttoning it up, just like everything else in our regulations. Some of them are very old and haven't been touched in years. I noticed that we have three different locations, 3 different standards. We have the Village, we have Route 66 and Arrow Highway. There are different requirements for murals as I read them. I would like to see them worked on so we have one policy to, as Mendel said, option number 2, to instruct staff to go back and give us some ideas of what other cities have done, come back and see if we can have a inclusive, cohesive policy that we can all look to and have at least oversight on there. I know we have oversight now, but I think this would be much clearer if we did have one policy that was updated. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
To move forward with a public art master plan, how big of a task is that? I mean, do we have the staff? And I'm not sure the cost would be dramatic except for staff time, but I'm just wondering, how big of a project do you think that would be?
I think the first step, if this is something the council that would want to pursue in some fashion, I think the first thing that I would do is go back and try to do a little bit more research on what other communities within our area, or anywhere for that matter, that run public art programs are doing. So we could have a range of options, that we might bring back for the council to consider, the type of program that you wanted us to fashion. I got the sense I got from council members Thompson and Alowis is that at the very least they wanted some type of update to our policies, and at least the way we encourage art as part of development projects. So that might be one way, but in terms of the time, it would be, it's hard for me to estimate. It depends on how big of a program you want. If you just want a few tweaks to the code to say you can do these 3 or 4 types of things, these are the types of things we encourage, that might be easier than say, well, we also want to form a public art committee and we want to fund a public art program and we want to, promote additional activities throughout the community for public art to create a.
I'm not
better
into adding
corporate-
more bureaucracy.
And then when we talk about the feasibility of creating a public art fund, would that be a fund financed with taxpayer money, or are we talking about a fund that could possibly be funded by contributions?
You could, both,
Both?
yeah, one or both.
Okay. Well, I like the idea, but just a perfect example of, in the Village where we have too many rules. Our rules are that we can't paint from edge to edge of a building. And the new Glendora mural is definitely edge to edge and it looks great. I mean, I love that mural. So, the idea of making sure that things don't get out of hand, but also making sure that we don't tie the hands of people when they want to do things. I think it's worth looking into. I don't want to burden staff with any type of a huge project, but I think it's at least worth taking another look at and trying to see what we can do to clean it up a little bit. Thanks.
Mr. Fried.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jeff. I agree. It's not add any more big roles in business, but just button up is probably the right word. I think we've been fortunate in the success of the art we have through the developmental plan and the creativity of the businesses that have done good things. I like that as long as it's in a positive, hitting the buttons that you suggested, historical or the atmosphere of the community. That's good. As soon as it starts turning into a personal agenda for other causes, oops, I lose interest there. But I enjoy the tile work and the development type programs that have been encouraged, and would ask people to do more of that. Yeah, I think some fine tuning or tweaking, but I don't think we need to create any new entities to have to manage. Thank you.
Raymond.
It sounds like in hearing some of the comments from the council, as was mentioned previously, based on whatever feedback we have this evening, we can go back and pull some other cities in Southern California or other areas, as Jeff mentioned, and we can even almost have a matrix of sort. The city has X, Y, and Z in this city, so you can pick and choose the various elements that you may want to learn more about. It's going to be an education process for staff as much as it is the city council. So it sounds like we have the incentives, obviously Arrow Highway and Route 66 to encourage that art, and maybe through the policy we can state a little more what that art should look like. But I think having us benchmark other cities to see what's out there is never a bad idea, because the city council may say, you know what, I like this. This is great. Let's look at what that is, and then we can go back and tell you what it costs and how much staff time is involved.
No, I mean, obviously I like public art and think that we need more of it. I was part of those discussions when we encouraged it in those developments, and would like to continue to see that as part of any new development. And also to even add a percentage that gets contributed towards art. And then that could be contributed to in other ways. So how best would you like us to frame this so that you have clear direction going forward?
Would you like us to move on your option number 2 with the added benefit of looking at other municipalities?
Yeah, I think option number 2 is more, I don't think we're ready to, it doesn't sound like that we want to start creating a public art master plan
No.
yet, but at least do
No.
research and
Research.
present options for the council to consider on.
Get rid of the word create and put research.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move option number 2, remove create and input research.
Second.
Thank you. If you can vote. Councilmember Thompson, if you can
Yes, can you
second on your
second?
vote. That is to receive the report on public art and based on feedback for option 2, and staff to research other cities, to return at a future meeting with options for the council to consider. I'm going to open up the vote and ask that you use the voting module. I will take a roll call vote. Councilmember Alawas.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedendahl.
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyer.
Yes.
And Mayor Davis.
Yes,
That carries 5-0. Thank you.
thank you. All right, that takes us to unfinished business. We have none. Takes us to new business. Item 13, award a contract agreement to Sidaro Inc. to provide professional services for a water system management software and implementation in the amount not to exceed $142,569 and 90 cents. And to present that, Public Works Director Allison Sweet, welcome.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. And since you already outlined what this is about, I will move on to the next paragraph, which is to just inform you, the Water Division is currently undergoing a water infrastructure assessment, and this project ties in the management of the water infrastructure assets and work orders, and then allowing staff to go from a manual process up to the 21st century, up to date. So this project will also be coordinating closely with the citywide GIS implementation. So I have the Sudaru representatives here, and David Stadelman will be coming up here in a moment to give a brief presentation on the software itself and then the services that they're going to provide the city under this contract. The Public Works selected Sudaru utilizing the city's municipal code, allowing the cooperative purchasing agreement. And under this, staff worked extensively looking at what other contracts they had recently obtained. And we also did some reference checks, looking at the costs and then tailoring the scope to our city's needs. And this is based on a recent contract with the city of Redlands and Sudaru. And then we also reached out to City of Whittier and the town of Apple Valley to get some reference checks. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to David, and he will talk about the software itself.
Thank you, Director Sweet. Madam Mayor, council members, thank you. So I'm assuming you guys aren't water folks, and so I will just do a quick little nutshell of what are water assets and what are work orders. So water assets are just that, the valuable pieces of equipment that help keep the water flowing. So think fire hydrants, water meters, valves that they have to be exercised. And so these work orders are just that. These are tasks that the city staff go out to maintain the distribution systems, that the water keeps flowing, turn it off when we need to, make sure, preventative maintenance kind of things. And so, exercise valves and things like that. Currently, the city is doing a lot of that manually on paper and spreadsheets, which, as Director Sweet aptly cited, that's not in the 21st century, which if you're a small city and, you don't have a lot going on, you can get by over that state for a while. But in today's world, you can't, you just got to do so much more. It leaves a lot of risk of things being missed. And most importantly, it costs the city a lot of money in manual. You're paying people to type stuff in 2 or 3 times, drive back and forth, big carbon footprint, all those kind of things. It's very much akin to the smart meter program where, folks are now saving money, saving time, and reducing carbon footprint. Same sort of thing, but with the city staff that go out and do all these tasks on a day-to-day basis. So that's what the assets are, and that's what the team does, and our software digitizes that. One point that I'd like to add that Director Sweet shared with me, and that over the course of the year that we've been working with the city to make sure we're the right company and it does everything the city needs and that sort of thing, is that it's critical, like our other customers, the city has looming retirements and institutional knowledge living in people's heads. The person that measures that meter, replace it, they know that it's covered under the, mulch in a garden because it got covered over years ago. Those little things make a big difference when you're in the field. And so by digitizing that and capturing that exact location, it sets the city up for success. So when those people do retire, you have that knowledge available. So, the journey that the city's on, this technology journey includes more than just the software. So the software, yes, the buttons, and it's easy to use and all those great things, blah, blah, blah. But really it's more about the team, right? It's capturing that institutional knowledge that everybody has in their heads. It's making sure that the software is easy to use so people actually use it, and then you're not just throwing money away. And it's making sure that the software can be trained for new folks. And it actually serves as a bit of a recruiting tool. I'm sure the city has staffing challenges like every other city does. And today's generation, job candidates actually looking at the organization's technology stacks. What technology they're using. So young people today are choosing not to go work at places that use spreadsheets and paper, and they're choosing to take a job next door where they have technology tools. So those are all important factors when the city looks to move into this type of technology. The other things that I would, add to that are who we are. So Cetaru was originally based out of nearby San Dimas, California. So it's a local company. It has been acquired by Aquatic Informatics in the last year, but the team are still here. It's still a local company with local people. We have water experts. We are not a new company that's asking you to take a chance on some new piece of software. There are more than 30 water utilities in California alone that use Cetaru software every day, including the similarly sized ones of, you mentioned Redlands, and also Whittier is another one. And what was the other one, Aaron? Apple Valley. And yeah, there's, I guess, more than 30. We need to list them. And so we're not some sort of startup company. I'd also say that like the water meters, data-driven decisions, that's really what softwares do, is they give you the data and take it out of these messy spreadsheets and paper and sort of compile it so you can actually use it to make decisions. So those data-driven decisions are confident decisions and legally defensible decisions. And that adds a huge component to the day-to-day experience of the staff that are out there working. It removes guesswork. And so those are all really important factors to be considered. And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring up my notes here. The other things that I would just sort of end with, and then I'll happy to take any questions, are that we are pleased and honored to be considered for working with the city's partner in this. Not just because it's cool technology, but because it's with water. It's critical. Water is a critical resource. I was thrilled to see the water conservation presentation today. funny, I just got back from Cape Town, South Africa, and where they had a severe water. They had day, I think it was 5 years ago now, they had day zero, looming. We're gonna run out of water. And I was chuckling to see that Glendora so far ahead. What they had to do in Cape Town was they said, we know how many people live in your house. And if you exceed your allotment, there's no warning, there's no fines, or you can't buy your way out, to turn the water off. That's what it came to. And so I was just really pleased to see the progression that, the advance that where Glendora is. And I know the state requirements and all that, I'm very familiar with state droughts, but it's neat to see that the city's taken such great steps there in water, and we're pleased to be partnering in that.
Yeah, I think Cape Town, wasn't it something drastic, like 18 gallons a person a day or something?
Yes,
It was a
yes.
little scary.
And
Yes.
I know that the target here was 20%, which is wonderful. They actually achieved a 50% conservation difference reduction in water usage by
Wow.
that drastic measure, unfortunately. And let's hope it never, ever gets anywhere near that in any part of our
Yes.
world again.
Scary. Any questions? Mr. Freendom.
Thank you. And I'll entertain answers from either way because they could be worn by either hat. Do we have a GIS system currently?
We are actually implementing that. Both of these are kind of happening side by side. And Adam, do you want to explain more? I know.
Yeah, sure. So as part of the city's budget and previously the city council has approved an ESRI contract, which has the baseline licenses and infrastructure necessary. Currently working with an outside consultant and vendor to do sort of the framework and ground level work needed to implement GIS in a variety of areas, including the new permitting system, the new ERP system. We've previously done mapping of some water assets, but didn't necessarily have the right methodology to get that all up and running and in staff's hands. So this is another piece of the underlying ESRI basically enterprise license agreement that we have.
Okay, thank you. Because my first question or thought was being a user of systems of that in my previous life, also starting life on paper, so I get that one too. Just hoping that this might be a system that we could cross over and utilize in other departments as well, like street management and things, and they might have a similar system, so they're not program A and program B, but actually a interrelated system that can work together. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, correct. This is the first of hopefully more contracts for other infrastructure. We've got some, we're going to be doing a facilities assessment. And so one of the things that Chisholm is out tonight, but he worked very closely together and with the consultant that Adam talked about, a third party, and then also with ESRI. I think you guys met just a couple of weeks ago to make sure that everything, we buttoned it up, that they all work together, and then we're working with other departments to make sure that we're not piecemealing everything.
Yeah, because obviously you go mess up water, you got to dig up somebody's street. So that's
right.
yeah.
And if I may just add to that a little
ahead.
bit. So yes, we are certainly leveraging the work that's being done with GIS now. We'll actually be ingesting that data to set up those water assets in the Settler software. We'll actually, part of the services scope includes going out and using GPS tools to actually map out where the valves are. So we have exact locations rather than just some latitude and longitude that may or may not actually be right. You stand there with a machine and it tells you exactly where it's at. So we'll be leveraging those things. We'll also be leveraging the locations of the new smart meters, and because the latitude, longitude are data points there. So we'll be leveraging all those things. And to answer your question directly, yes, the Settler software platform can be expanded to do wastewater, streets, lights, trees, and other areas of public works. But the scope of this project does not include that. It's
Okay.
just purely water.
Love that answer. And certainly, as you probably know, in the water region, tribal knowledge is king right now, and
Sure.
it's going away. So that's
right.
very good. Thank you. No more.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, I've got a question on if we are making this decision based on the City of Redlands bid that we did before. I'm just curious as to why our cost is lower than the City of Redlands. How does that work?
It's the
I
scope.
appreciate it,
Yeah,
but
certainly. Yeah. Well, because they're not necessarily apples and oranges. It's the same software platform, but it's very configurable. So you can basically buy as much or as little as you need, number of users that you may or may not need, the number of modules that you may need to subscribe to. As for instance, some customers don't have a sewer operation program. They don't need to buy the sewer component. Some have 50 users, some have 5. So all those various factors
Okay.
come into the price, but it's the same model that is used for all customers.
okay, appreciate it. That's the only question I had. Thanks.
Mr. Thompson,
I am good. Support it. Thank you.
Mr. Alawas.
Thank you, Mayor. So if I remember correctly, we bought something like 140 some odd GIS from Esri licenses, somewhere
Yes.
around there.
Yes.
How many licenses will you need for this?
28 user subscription is what we call them.
Right.
So you'll take up 28 of these?
Well, it's an
No, no,
enterprise
no.
license that we have. So this project's not going to impact any of the overall usage of the city.
So you won't use any of the licenses we purchased,
Correct. Not your Esri licenses, no.
Correct.
but you'll integrate with Esri.
That's right.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we want to take the Esri information and bring it into our software.
Correct.
Okay. So you're asking for, help me with this, your service, we're not going to build anything necessarily, but you're asking for a 10% contingency. What would you expect to need that contingency for?
I mean, if we found more hidden meters or something in that regard, and honestly, this is the first time we've done something like this. And so the thought is just in case something comes up.
Additional staff hours of support. Sometimes we may have missed something in the initial, anytime you're going from literally stone and chisel to something a lot more in the 21st century, you do have the potential for oversights or overages. Hopefully it's not necessary at all, but it's always important to have the contingency in your project.
But you're going to be building this out with paper data, basically. You're not transferring data. You're going to build out the ledgers in the database, correct?
Not entirely, sir, no. We're going to take the information from the Esri GIS. I'm sorry. The answer was no, not entirely, sir. We're going to take the data digitally from Esri and bring that in. So it's not transcription. No, there's no typing going on. It's scripting and coding. We'll also do the same with the smart meters, the AMI, we call them AMIs. The smart meters, they will also digitally feed information into the software. And then the GPS locating service that is part of our scope. We're actually hiring a subcontractor to go do that work for us. They stand there with their GPS machines and again, digitally send information to a location that we then import. Is that what you were asking? And I get your question, query?
Earlier, we talked about that this was going to be on spreadsheets, that was before and things of that nature, but now we're talking about we're importing data. So
That's
which
right.
is it?
You're importing data.
So we're not taking things from
Councilman,
spreadsheets.
I would just say that when you have to do site inspections, that's the paper process that we're doing now.
Right.
This is
The inspection process, not setting up the system.
correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's all the questions I have.
Okay, thank you. Very good. I will entertain a motion.
I also move that we accept the program as presented.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I'll open the vote. If you can vote, and I'll take a roll call. That is a motion by Councilmember Friedendahl, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Boyer. Councilmember Alawas,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedendahl,
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyer,
Yes.
and Mayor Davis.
Yes,
That passes 5-0. Thank you.
thank you. And thank you to both of you for the information. All right, that takes us to item 14, approve an expenditure in the amount of $213,000 with Los Angeles County Public Works to maintain all city-owned traffic signals under the county's Operational Services Division Traffic Signal Maintenance Services Program so that Mr. Friedendahl can cross the limit line on yellow. Is that what I understood?
Just stand
All
on
right.
it, go.
Yes, tonight to present civil engineering analyst Pagio. Welcome.
Okay, good evening again, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm here tonight to speak about the request of this staff for the LA or for the traffic signal maintenance contract be transferred with the LA County Public Works under the Operational Services Division. A brief background of our traffic signals. Here in Glendora, we have 67 of them, and 53 are maintained by our contractor, which is Burr Electrical Services. 5 traffic signals on and off ramp are maintained by Caltrans, and 9 of them are shared and maintained by LA County Public Works under Operational Services Division. The city's contract for the traffic signal maintenance ended up on June 30th, 2022, after serving the city for 6 years. The city has an existing agreement for decades with LA County for the maintenance of 9 shared traffic signals along the Arrow Highway corridor. Also, the city has an agreement with LA County for the traffic signal synchronization program to develop and implement the traffic signal coordination timing, basically giving a lot of space for especially this Route 66 and Grand. Those are the 2 that are now synchronized with LA County. And that gives them for Route 66, the time to travel more and lessen the traffic itself. Public Works conducted research and determined that contracting the services of LA County Public Works will provide the most comprehensive and efficient services for the city. Who are these LA County Public Works? They are well equipped to perform the traffic signal maintenance for the city of Glendora. They have a large labor force that are available for service 24 hours, 7 days a week, including holidays, without charging overtime fees. This is where we always got hit most. They have experienced technicians that maintain county-owned traffic signals across the county and perform citywide maintenance for 16 cities now. They perform a citywide assessment of the city's traffic signal condition and recommend repairs and replacement. They respond quickly on any traffic signal issue, and city staff will have less oversight of troubleshooting traffic signals. The city traffic signals along Route 66 and Grand and Arrow Highway corridor are under the county's traffic signal synchronization program. It will be now easy for the city staff to request them in our area should an issue comes out, like that previous strong winds that came sometime in March with the city. We noticed that there's a lot in Arrow Highway. They were all done on time and quickly as compared to some of ours, which took like 2 days, 3 days before they were addressed. Engineering staff are satisfied with the services they provided, which is at high and professional level. Our estimated traffic signal maintenance cost for fiscal year 2022-2023 for immediate traffic signal repair, we will be using or needing 60,000, and this was approved during the mid-year fiscal year 2022 budget adjustment. And for the routine and extraordinary traffic signal maintenance, 153,000, where 130 was allocated under the traffic signal repair and maintenance funds account adopted on the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. With that, Council Member and Madam Mayor, I conclude my presentation and would request the Council Member to approve an expenditure in the amount of 213,000 with Los Angeles County Public Works to maintain all city-owned traffic signal under the county's Operational Services Division Traffic Signal Maintenance Services Program. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Alawas.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. So it looks like by the numbers, we have what, 53 signals that we currently own that we want to hand over?
Yes, correct, sir.
And LA has 9 and Caltrans is 1.
Caltrans has 5
Oh, it's
on and
5.
off ramp. Yes, sir.
And LA currently has how many?
9.
9. Okay, and you mentioned that that LA has synchronized certain areas on theirs. Now, can we expect that to be citywide now with our signals that we turn over?
That's our target now. Like if we can ask them to look into our other signals, if they can be part of the synchronization. That's what we're gonna be. That's why we're excited to be into this. We saw how good they are when those streets are always like being requested for trouble or issues like that.
Okay, and so from a mechanical standpoint, are they part of our traffic committee? Do you,
In what regard?
well, when issues come up and you send things to your traffic committee to study intersections or things of that nature, or
Yeah.
complaints?
They would not be part of the staff traffic committee, but we could definitely take information associated with that. I think one of the important things that was discussed in the presentation is LA County already came and did an assessment, and they said, hey, before we're going to take over your system, you have about $50,000-$60,000 in repairs you need to make so we can even repair it. So from that aspect, I think there is quite a lot to be said about if we look at timing of a signal. We've had a lot of challenges with the gold line. As you know, some of our lights with the gold line changes, all of a sudden they go too quickly. I can think of Pasadena, for example, which was one of the challenges that we had. So they would definitely be an effective tool and one less, person that we have to call in. But I think from the operational standpoint, from staff's the perspective, having the ability for them to look at, for example, the entirety of Route 66, like they do Arrow Highway, is really important for us. Those east-west corridors, being able to streamline that would really help move traffic through our community on a faster basis.
So I would assume then with what you just said, if there's an issue that comes up, you'll consult with them
Absolutely.
for a fix.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Thompson.
Madam Mayor, thank you. And thank you for the, excellent report. I concur with the staff in terms of what you and they have said. The only question that I don't see, and I'm assuming since Bear is over as of the end of June, that once this is approved, then they will start like ASAP or?
Yes, sir. We talked with them already, and they're looking on whenever it gets approved by the council. We're just gonna give them a month, and they will include all those 53 signals in their appendix of the contract agreement. So yes.
Okay.
As of now, we are on a month-to-month basis with the Bear Electrical,
okay,
and they
with Bear.
agree with that one too. Yeah.
Okay,
We had a
okay.
meeting with them, sir. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem.
First question, is this a 1-year agreement?
Actually, sir, it's an open, how do they put it on their agreement? Yeah, it's an open, but we can get out of them should we become not happy or what, like, but it's an open agreement. As what is stated on the agreement itself, we can, in 30 days, you can get out, or should the city or county decide to be out, we can do that.
Okay.
So it doesn't tell like it's 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. But to tell you the truth, we've been with that agreement for decades. So we're just like basically updating or adding something on that appendix.
Okay, and my reason for the question is just the cost. Is this something that next year this cost could be double or something, and it could, but we could get out of the contract if we needed to then.
Correct. Tonight we're asking for expenditure of the 213,000. The idea is it should give us a year. But yeah, we're just asking for the expenditure because
And I would also add the city council recently adopted basically a general contract with the county that allows us to enter into these subcontracts, and that also provides us the ability to get out of any of those services should we need it. So we have protection there and in this contract. But as you pointed out, as a public agency, costs can go up and down depending on the economy and missed returns for pension reform and everything else like that. So very cognizant of that. One of the benefits is the county buys things in such large quantities that they even get a larger discount over other vendors, which probably makes their personnel more expensive, but their parts less. But all of that said, every year as we review the budget, or every 2 years, the Public Works come back and said this is too expensive, that's something we definitely evaluate.
And then another question I have, we have the underground sensors that help to control the lights. Is that part of this project as well? The
Yeah, that
maintenance
would
of
be the
those?
traffic loops. Yes, yes. And then,
Okay.
and we actually have, a lot of them are cameras now also. So those would be included.
Okay, and then what about the crosswalk, the walk, don't walk signs? Are they're
Yes.
included in this as
Yeah.
well? Hey, what,
They maintained by them too. So.
while I have you there, I'm just curious. We had an issue. Yeah, we had an issue down on Vermont Avenue. Was it Vermont or Glendora on Route 66 that we used to have one of the crosswalk controllers that was vandalized on a regular basis? Have we had that problem for a while? I haven't heard anything about it.
Vandalized, you mean like it was just like
No, it was actually the button that was stolen. I believe it was on Glendora Avenue and Route 66. It actually happened twice. It was reported and it was repaired. And then 3 weeks later, it was stolen a second time. But yes, that was Route 66. I haven't heard of it happen. Have you guys?
Okay, I was just curious because as we're talking about this, I'm going, I don't remember the last time I heard about that. That was a problem for a couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
So, okay, no, I appreciate it. I like this change.
The collector just wanted a matching set.
Well, and no matter how many times you push it, it's not going to make it go any faster.
Just
You
a
just need to
switch,
push it once.
Just one
okay?
button, one switch,
Don't-
folks. So my understanding is improved service for less price. So that's always a good opportunity and we should go with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for your report, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Thank you. That is a motion by Councilmember Alabas, a second by Councilmember Thompson. I will open the vote. Councilmember Alabas,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedendahl,
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyer,
Yes.
and Mayor Davis.
Yes.
That passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to the end of our agenda. Any final comments or questions by council? Okay, seeing, oh,
I've got to tell one quick story.
okay, I'm timing you. Make it
When
quick.
Jeff, well, believe me, my wife's timing me. But when Jeff showed the birds that are sitting in front of my office, I think some of you know this, but those birds were purchased for our home. And we weren't ready to put them in yet. So they were put in front of the office temporarily just because we didn't want to store them anywhere. And they've ended up staying there for like 15 years. So my wife wasn't happy but they were so popular. It was one of those things we couldn't move them at the time. But we never asked for permission either. So
Yes, thank you for that donation of public art. We appreciate it. Mr. Raymond.
I think we forgot to mention the wildlife forum tomorrow, 7 p.m.
Yes.
Bidwell Forum. Lions, tigers, and bears.
Oh,
Oh my! State of California, Inland Valley will be present to give an update. I'm sure all of you have seen the social media posts about the bears. We had another one in the storm drains not too long ago. So there's no water and it gets hot, and the animals use those storm drains as pathways. They go all around the city, including in the South Hills, some of the mountain lions to hunt. So as we promised, when an opportunity arises, state reached out because we've had so much contact with bears. So we'll be holding a workshop tomorrow night, 7 p.m.
The tomorrow night or Thursday
I mean,
night?
Thursday night, sorry.
Thursday night, 7 p.m.
I'm
Bidwell.
just excited there's not a council meeting for a month. So we're just trying to get out of here as fast as we can. So yes, Thursday night, 7 p.m.
Day the 14th.
We
yes.
had a bear in our garage last week and he took out a bag of bird seed and dragged it across the driveway. In the garage.
He was hoping to eat better.
Yes.
Mr. Winder? Thank you. Any other staff
Yes, I do have a quick announcement.
Ma'am.
I did want to mention to council that there was an email that was sent to the commissioners and board members on July 1st with an update on council's decision not to change the timing of the reorganization of boards and commissions that was approved on the 28th. Within that email, we also reminded the boards and commission members of the requirement to participate in the boards and commissions, which included regular attendance, and informed them that in an effort to maintain records of compliance, starting this month, regular attendance will be maintained with monthly reports that'll be given by city council and executive team. So you should be looking forward to receiving those on a monthly.
Thank you.
But just as a note, we are still allowing commissioners to attend remotely if they are not feeling good. And we just request that if somebody is not feeling good, just reach out to your staff liaison or the city clerk's office, and we will help coordinate that effort. In addition, I just wanted to announce that the nomination period for the November 8th, 2022 election opens on Monday at July 18th. And if anybody is interested in any information, give the city clerk's department a call. If you're interested in running for city council, if you are interested in running for the school board, call the register recorder's office.
Thank you. Any other staff? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned at 9:06 p.m.